the Dukes weren't hazardous. She's only 17, made us curious. It was a carefree time. How about we jump back and rewind? We were living on Winger and a prayer, just garbage pail kids with mullets and big hair. Let's open up another pack. Gen X wants their future back. Break out the denim jackets and faded band patches. Share memories, Polaroid captured. It's the Gen X marks the spot podcast.
Gen Xers, welcome to the Gen X Marks the Spot podcast. I am your host, Joe Augustine, right here in the Wherever I May Roam studios. I think last week I may have said wherever you may roam. I messed up. I don't need to know your business. So wherever you may roam, that's up to you. But wherever I may roam, I am somewhere here in southwestern Pennsylvania, bringing you Gen X Marks the Spot podcast. Today, our guest is one of the finest frontmen in melodic rock and hard rock, and that is David Reece of Bangalore Choir. Before we get into the interview, though, I need to give a shout out to Tim from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. He wrote in and said that Gen X marked their spot with G.I. Joes and Polly Pockets. Okay, Tim, G.I. Joes I get, but Polly Pockets? I'm not one to judge, but only thing that comes close to me right now at age 51, such as Polly Pockets and G.I. Joes, is Hot Pockets and me having upper G.I. Joe issues. Oh, man. Acid reflux, man. Oh, boy. Tum-de-dum-tum-tums. Guys remember that commercial, right? Anyway, man, why am I thinking of this? But, back in 1992, my senior year and the year that Bangalore Choir released their debut album, George W. Jr., our president, he had a little upper GI issues going on with the Prime Minister of Japan. You remember the right on his lap. Sorry, GW. Sorry too, Dave. My bad. Anyway, I don't know why I thought of that, but man. Oh, man. Anyway, you know that feeling when you hear a voice that just cuts through everything. It's raw, it's powerful, it's unmistakable. You do good because, that is David Reece. From his time fronting other bands such as Accept, Gypsy Rose, Tango Down, Sainted Sinners, and Bonfire, for being the frontman of Bangalore Choir. And today, he's going to be talking about Bangalore Choir's new album. It is the follow-up to their debut back in 1992. It's called Rapid Fire Succession, On Target Part 2. On Target Part 2. It was released October 24th through BraveWords Records. And this record, let me tell you, it has come full circle. There are no fillers. It's all killers. I've heard that somewhere before, but anyway, it's true. 16 tracks on this album, and they are pure melodic hard rock firepower. Singles out there right now are Bullet Train and Driver Seat, and they're already turning heads and running up the rock charts. Dave and I are also going to talk about two deeper cuts on the album, the ballads Mending Fences and I Never Meant To. These songs, man, they hit different for Dave because they're very personal, and he's going to tell us why. We're also going to get the scoop on what's next for Bangalore Choir. Is there a tour? Where is that torpedo headed? We're going to cover that. So sit back, enjoy the ride. It's David Reece of Bangalore Choir. Well, first off, thank you for wanting to be on my show. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Where are you? New York?
No, I am south of Pittsburgh.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Winter yet?
Trying to get a little bit of snow today, so I'm not a big fan of that.
Uh-oh.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I listened from head to toe the new album on Target, and I know that I was inspired by the original album back in 1992. And it seems like in 92, that was my senior year of high school. And so many great albums came out that year. But of course, grunge was hitting at that time. And I don't think a lot of the albums got the proper playtime and exposure that they needed.
It was a really bizarre time. None of us had a clue it was coming. It was a tidal wave of change. I think the album was released, and literally like 90 days after it was put out, we were all called in the office and they dropped us from the label. I'd met Stone. Actually, Stone and those guys tried to take my drummer from Bangalore, had a meeting with him, and he goes, "What's your band called?" And they go, "We're going to call it Pearl Jam." He goes, "That's a stupid name." And he said, "No, thanks, man. Bangalore's taken off. We're doing really good. You know, I appreciate the offer. Good luck." A year later, they sold 10 million records. So,
Yeah.
small world.
Yeah, absolutely. I never was a big fan of the grunge movement back in the day because it just killed my favorite style of music, which was hair metal, hard rock, melodic rock. And, you know, your album right now that's out on Target, like what inspired you to revisit that record and create On Target Part 2 after more than 30 years?
Well, in the interim, I've done a few Bangalore Choir records. I did Cadence, Metaphor, did a live record, and one called Center Mass. Um, the honest truth is I play a lot of On Target in my solo touring set, as well as Eat the Heat, Accept songs, and some of my solo material. And I'm amazed every night, no matter what country I am, that those people know the On Target songs, Angel in Black, Slipping Away. They know All or Nothing. They know all those songs. And as a solo artist, because I got tired of being in bands, being in a band is like not fun a lot of times. So I was driving back from France. I'd never played France of all the countries I've done. And I just debuted last year in France and I did pretty well. And I started looking around at what Tramp was doing with Tramp's White Lion, Songs
Okay.
of White Lion, and all these branding things. And I'm not going to say it was difficult to book me as a solo artist, but not as appealing as with the brand that I was known for. And I'm driving home. It's about a 7-hour drive, and I get this thought. I said, I'm going to redo Bangalore Choir. I need the brand topic to really open up the bookings, the festivals, better money, better accommodations, just more of an outreach. But the reason I said, if I'm going to do this, and of course, I called all the agents from the car and I said, I'm doing this. They're like, great, this is going to open up a lot of things for you. But I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind down, go home, crank out On Target and study it. Now, to go back in time that far was not an easy task. And my co-writer, Andy Susamil, who worked with Udo, who I had met, when I was doing Eat the Heat with Accept in the same studio, he and I have written lots of songs together. And he's kind of my, what I call my weapon of mass production. Him and I just click. Great player, great singer. And he had done some live Bangalore Choir shows with me before and some BC records. So I called him. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Let's study On Target. Let's try to write something like that. Okay, bro, I'm on it. Well, it was futile, like the first 4 or 5 tracks that we were working on. It just wasn't grabbing me because in the interim, the records that I told you I'd done after On Target, I'm going to be straight with you and the fans. There was like 2 to 3 killers and 7 fillers on every record. It never quite had that magic of On Target. They'd say, oh, this reminds me of On Target, but what's this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So during the interim of all that, I tried to reach out to some of the members from the original lineup, and they, they're pretty comfortable not touring anymore, and they've kind of let it go by the wayside. They're teaching or they're working in the movie business, things like that. So I knew I would have to work solely with Andy, and a few other writers to create this. So after that 4 or 5 songs, Andy sent me the riff for the track Driver's Seat. And I went, that's slipping away. That's what I'm talking about. And I think I wrote the lyrics in about 15 minutes, started singing it in the phone, sent it back to him, went and tracked it here in my village in Italy. I said, okay, that's what I'm looking for. And then I think the next song was Bullet Train. So I always akin it to when it starts to fall from the sky, it's like big raindrops. We're on a roll. So I think we wrote and recorded 25 or 26 songs in about 6 weeks. And Andy and I, when we get on a hammer, it just goes, you know. But we had to really like sort our brains out because it's hard to go back, you know. I don't know what I was thinking in those days. I mean, I remember times and things that were going on, but to put yourself back there and try to recreate that atmosphere, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and there are no fillers on this album. There's 16 tracks, and you got them divided up
Thank you
into.
very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And you got them divided up into Act 1 and Act 2. Is there a significant reason why it's that way, or is it just how?
Well, I was going to go back to my original label. I had an option on the deal where I had the choice to walk or re-sign with them. And I started looking at BraveWords and the crew that's behind it, knowing what they've done over the last 3 decades. And I know Giles Lavery really well. I called him and told him what I was doing and played him some of the tracks. He goes, we'll sign you right now. Yeah, you're on the right track. So what his thinking was is kind of a Steinman Meatloaf thing.
Mhm.
Kind of like what they did on those production albums. I mean, I had so many damn songs that it was hard for me to figure out which one to put on the record. So I kind of narrowed it down to those 16. So he goes, let's call it Act 1 and Act 2. I said, Giles, that's over 100 minutes of music. He goes, I think we're right under 100 minutes. It'll fit on a CD. So that's where that was spun from. It was kind of his vision on that. And I said, okay, let's go. But the only worry that I had was, hey, maybe this record's too long and people go, oh, 16 songs, you know, they get halfway through it and they turn it off. Well, that hasn't been the case. I've been really lucky that everybody says they're digging everything on it, you know, because a lot of bands will put out, hey, we're giving you more bang for your buck. Here's 18 songs. I mean, and, you know, 5 of them are okay. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And what I like about your concept is you're not just putting one single out at a time. You put a whole album out. That to me right there shows that you are dedicated to the art and to continuing to have the Bangalore Choir brand out there.
Yeah, I was unabashedly prepared to, but I have to give a lot of credit to Metal Shop. They debuted it. It took off. Bullet Train was the first single, and then 97 Underground picked it up. I haven't had this much airplay in 25 years, probably. So that feels really good. So that means that people are actually digging it because a lot of the stations, you know, are fan requested.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing for me. So it's done something right, and it feels pretty good, man.
Well, I'll tell you, as I told you earlier, I listened to it from head to toe and love Driver's Seat. I mean, that does have that kick-ass feel from that era of back in 92. But I don't know if these two songs are going to be released or not. But the ones that really got me was Swimming with the Shark and Prisoner.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
That's funny you said that. I've been doing media all day. I've only been home. I just got home from tour a few days ago, and it's a funny thing. Swimming with the Shark, I wrote with a guy named Marco Pittori. I should give him most of the songwriting credit, but my guitar player changed some of the parts in it. And it was originally a punk song. And
Oh.
during the lockdown, I was like, these guys were calling me all the time, going, "Hey, would you sing on my demos?" And I needed to make money, and we were all suffering then. So I recorded it as kind of a new wavy late '70s kind of vibe, which is not me. And me and my engineer bassist Riccardo Di Morosi were looking at each other after we tracked it, going, "This is nuts. What are we doing?" So I sent it back to him. He released it in Switzerland, and it was kind of a moderate hit
Mhm.
as a punk thing. Well, Giles heard the song and went, you know, Dave, there's something to that. It's quirky, it's fun. What if you heavied it up and gave it more of a Billy Idol, Steve Stevens, Van Halen-ish kind of quirky thing to it? I'm like, no way, no way. I hate that song. He goes, just give it a shot. So we gave it like 3 attempts, and finally we reached what you got on the record. And the funny thing about Swim with the Shark is, you know, I keep an eye on the territories around the world, what songs are working the most in each country. And in Germany, Swimming with the Shark, it's like a crowd favorite. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned. And Prisoner, you know, was on Eat. Prisoner was a re-record from the album Eat the Heat I did with Accept. I never
Right.
liked the production of that record. It was too sugar coated, and that was part of the demise of that whole change, getting me in place of Udo. I said, and Giles said, you should re-record Prisoner. I said, only if I can make it guitar driven, and that's what I did. Now, vocally, I don't sing that high and powerful as I did in 1989. I can still sing, but he actually put in some background vocals with that on me. But I stayed close to the original, but I wanted it beefier, you know. And all the drums and bass are live on the record, so it's got that organic, you know, instead of everybody in a different room sending a file or recording just the drums and then the bass. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've got some guys like in Illinois and Missouri that love Shark too, and they always say that's a crowd shotter, man. That's a crowd pleaser. I'm like, okay,
For me, I absolutely think it kicks ass. Now, another
thank
song.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. And another song that I really enjoyed on there was "Mending Fences." I mean,
Ah,
was that drawn from like a personal experience, or how did that come about?
basic. Well, I'm really good friends with Ferdy Durnberg, the keyboard player from Axel Rudy Pell,
Hmm.
and him and I have played in some groups together. And what we used to do back in the day was we'd kind of get backstage, and we'd find a piano or a little plastic Casio or something. And we jam like Ray Charles, Elton John songs, and I'd just sing along, or we'd freelance, you know what I mean? We just
Hmm.
open jam. And he made a comment to me one time. He goes, Dave, your voice is perfect for this, and there's only 2 singers that can do what you do. And I go, yeah, who's that? He goes, you and Jolyn Turner. You always know where to end up on when I finish my chord. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. So I'm a gospel lover. I love the Ray Charles stuff, and I love Elton John. And I called him and I said, man, I want you to contribute something to this. Send me some piano pieces. So he sent me 2, and I chose that one. But Mending Fences, I'm a cowboy from Oklahoma that moved to Montana. So Mending Fences, means, hey, make amends.
Hmm.
And all of us have to do that, say I'm sorry if you're human. And that's kind of what it means. It's like mending fences about all the bad that I've done, and the mistakes I've made and the things I've said. But I appreciate you bringing up that song, because Ferdy and I had just talked about it the other day, and a lot of people seem to connect with that. It's a good ending to the record. There's kind of a story based line on this record with songs like that. I'm not your typical baby, baby, whoa, whoa, hey, hey, chorus guy. One of my favorites is I Never Meant to, the other ballad. And
Yes.
I was in a real nasty divorce back in the mid 90s where we had children, and she went her way and I went my way. And I had kind of retired from music at that time, and I was working construction and farming. And what that family put into my children's heads about me as a person was, the defense thing, right? Oh,
Right.
he's a dick. And I was a drunk in those days. I've been sober for many, many years, but I take my 50% of the blame for it. But the problem with divorce is that the children suffer because they're being influenced as little kids about their dad or their mom, where the father or mother can't defend themselves. Yeah, they moved to a long ways away, a different state. It was really hard for me. So vocally and lyrically, I had the idea with Mario Percadani, the guitarist, for a couple of years. And I said, this is a good way to say what I have a hard time saying on, video messenger to my kids, who are all grown now. And just try to say it in a song. So it's very personal for me. I want it to be the next single and hopefully touch crossover radio. And so
Oh man.
while I've got,
Yeah.
I was on tour in France last week. I did 4 or 5 gigs, and I was trying to film the audience and different places and cities and stuff, but I just couldn't get it together because a bunch of chaos went down on the tour. Somebody got dreadfully ill that was working for the organization. They went to the hospital, so my mind wasn't really into it. So I'm going out on tour on the 25th. I begin with Girls' School in Alcatraz, and we're traveling all over Europe into December. So I'm going to make an effort to make a real nice black and white cities around Europe, maybe just me walking down the street, film some lonely guy at the train station or a woman in front of a church or whatever, and and just release it and see how people. Because a lot of people say, "What's that about, man? That one got to me," and I'm like, that one in Mending Fences, So that's my personal kind of one,
Another thing too is your voice. I know you mentioned about you cannot sing like you did back in '89 and such like that, but I mean, to me, you still have that rock voice. There's nothing that I think you lost, really.
Well, thank you very kindly. I'm a proponent, a strong believer in daily rehearsal. I've taken a lot of voice lessons over the decades. I sang in choir as a kid, but it's a muscle, and as you age, it's like knees or hips or feet, whatever. It's one of those things it's a delicate instrument, and if you don't take care of it and you don't exercise it, it's not going. You know, it won't work for you. So. I abstained. I stopped drinking alcohol 7 years ago, and I
Congratulations.
used to think that I had to. I mean, I'm a drunk. I mean, I had this thought in my head for years that a couple of cold ones before I go on, a couple of cold ones on the stage, and then, of course, after the show, let's go. Um, that's a lie. Number one, alcohol dehydrates the voice, and all you have to do is listen to live board tapes of yourself when you're shit faced and go, no, you ain't that good. And the first tour that I did completely sober was opening for Udo on the Steel Factory tour, 2018. I'd never done a tour completely sober. And I was a little nervous about it, because, hey, where's my beer? Where's my crutch? But I went out there every night and I did 38 shows, and every one of them was solid. And I said, wow, I did it, you know, because it was normal, everybody parties, right? So it's
Absolutely.
just kind of like back in the 80s, it was marching powder. And I really wasn't a drinker until I joined Accept. I mean, the Germans, that's what they do. I didn't really like alcohol, but I kind of did it every day with the guys just to fit in and turned into this monster that I couldn't shake. Yeah, I mean, the voice is, I sing an hour every day. And what it also does is it gives you resistance to, like, if you catch a flu, you're a little weakened by a respiratory problem or, nasally thing. You have that strength because the voice has been exercised. It's like if you're a football player, right? You got to go play a game and you got the flu. You see those guys. He's got 103 temperature today, but he ran 200 yards. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's because he works at it. And I appreciate it. And, sleep is what the doctor ordered for a singer. And it's real hard to turn off the adrenaline after a gig. Everybody wants to meet you at merch. You got to talk for another hour or so. That's your muscle. Then you got to get in the van or the tour bus, and then everybody's excited. You just have to learn to shut up and go to bed, lay down, and turn your head off. But it's hard to do because it's like you just were in a gladiator ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bullfight. It's a full contact sport, bro. Being a frontman, I can't hide behind the guitar. I can't feel like dying and, just play my parts and then go lay down. I have to stand in front of this skinny little mic stand and smile when I'm sweating. And, it's a challenging thing. And there are certain viruses that just knock you down and you can't sing. I mean, you're human. But if you take care of yourself, rehearse, take your vitamins, Like they always say, take your Geritol every day.
Oh yeah,
you'll,
I remember
you'll,
that.
you'll, yeah, the old 70s commercial, you'll survive.
Oh yeah,
Actually, Geritol.
yeah.
Actually, Geritol was really just booze. I found out later that all those old people drinking Geritol, they were getting smashed. It wasn't medicine.
Oh my gosh. Well, now,
Yeah.
which song on the album, and you may have already answered this with Mending Fences, but which song on the album best captures the message or the energy that you want to deliver going into 2026?
Bullet Train and Driver's Seat have smashed it out of the park. But there's one that I added to the set. I'm Headed For.
Mhm.
It's I don't know what it is. That song just flies on stage, and we added it to the set. I think that could be another heavy rocker melodic thing that goes out to radio as well as I Never Meant to. But God dang it, I love them all. It's hard.
Me too.
I mean, I just I'm not bragging. It's just one of those. What should we play? Because you said you like this, you like that, and blah blah blah. And then I go, then another country will say, well, what about this in the set? And I'll be like, and I'm like pound my head against the table, going, what should I do? It's kind of a trial and error thing, but so far I'm Headed For with Bullet Train and Driver's Seat are in the set, and I Never Meant to. They seem to work live because I throw changes in by Sabbath. I actually started doing that last year, and since Ozzy passed, it's even gotten more popular in my set. And I always do "Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City" as a cover song, the White Snake version,
Yeah.
and people go bonkers when I do that. So yeah, I add what I'll do live is I'll put in some Eat the Heat. I'll do Ecstasy, Generation Clash, and Hellhammer, and I'll play those few covers, and then the rest is on target, and then 3 or 4 fresh ones from Rapid Fire Succession.
Well, I feel whatever you choose, it's working and it's going to work.
Oh, and another heads up, I am in the middle of negotiation for a end of February into March tour of the United States.
Yes.
Now, I have, being involved with 97, I've been put in contact with a lot of Pennsylvania venues, West Virginia, Ohio. There's a real strong possibility you and I may cross paths.
I would love that.
Yeah, man. Just let me know and stay in touch, and we'll get you on the list and we'll hang out.
That would be great.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you to all your listeners for everything you do and supporting me. Without you, there's no me. And keep your eyes open. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, David Reece and Bangalore Choir, Facebook, Instagram. Lots of news out there. If you want to hear my record, the 3 stations I mentioned earlier, KNAC, 97 Underground, Metal Shop 101, you can email in requests if you want to hear some more of the record. It's out now on BraveWords Records. At all your local retailers, it's available. And keep your eyes open for more media, because it's like it's slamming right now.
And that, my friends, is why I love doing podcasts. The music, the moments, the memories. That sounds a little bit like Eminem, but anyway, it is the music, the moments, the memories. They all come together in conversations like this. Man, David really opened up with us today, didn't he? When he talked about those ballads, Mending Fences and I Never Meant to, you could just hear it in his voice. These aren't just songs to him. They're chapters from his life, and it's put to music. The vulnerability, the honesty, and the raw emotion poured into those tracks, that's what separates the artist from the performers. David really wore his heart on his sleeve with this album, and we're definitely all richer for that. So Dave's now about to hit the road with Alcatraz and Girls School way across the pond over there. Man, that's an incredible lineup. I'm just wishing him all the best on that tour, and hey, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and saying a little prayer that he brings Bangalore Choir statewide for a proper U.S. tour. Dave, American fans deserve that. We gotta experience you live again, man. It's been way too long. So go on, grab your copy of Rapid Fire Succession, On Target, Part 2. seriously, part 2, wherever you get your music, just crank it loud and remember why we fell in love with the sound of melodic and hard rock in the first place. And let's make some new memories with Rapid Fire Succession on Target, part 2. All right, everyone, I am Joe Augustine with Gen X Marks the Spot podcast. Until next time, peace out. Props for listening.